While waiting outside a girls' school, Daiki catches the attention of some students who note his uniform is from the neighboring school. They wonder if he's someone's boyfriend, but quickly dismiss the idea. Surrounded by girls, Daiki grows anxious and wishes for his friend to arrive soon. Suddenly, a girl named Wakaba runs up and enthusiastically slaps Daiki's back, calling out his name. Startled, he asks her to contain herself, and she apologizes. Wakaba then challenges him to another competition by the riverbed, declaring that the loser will treat the winner, and that she intends to win. After another loss in soccer, Daiki listens to his childhood friend Wakaba celebrate her victory. She reminds him that he has to treat her as promised. He reflects that the tomboyish and troublesome Wakaba has always felt more like a cheeky little brother to him. While Wakaba walks off her full stomach, Daiki worries that he's almost out of cash for the month. He suggests that next time they play something he's good at, but then notices she has stopped walking. Seeing her staring intently at something, he leans in to ask what she's looking at, wondering if she's still hungry. Daiki realizes Wakaba is looking at a clothing store. He's surprised but figures it's normal for a girl her age. He encourages her to try something on, but she hesitates, saying she's sweaty. He tells her to have more confidence, commenting that this isn't like her, which seems to strike a nerve. Suddenly filled with confidence, Wakaba declares that she already knows she has a pretty face. She then challenges Daiki, asking if he thinks he could handle seeing her looking good, warning that he might start to see her as a girl. Wakaba decides it's pointless to just try on the clothes and instead arranges to meet Daiki on Sunday to see a movie, promising to wear her new outfit then. On Sunday, Daiki waits, feeling skeptical of her overconfidence and worrying she'll show up in a bizarre outfit. Just then, a voice behind him remarks on how early he is. Daiki turns around and is left speechless. Wakaba, looking stunning, teases him, asking if he couldn't wait to see her. For the first time, he is suddenly and intensely conscious of her as a girl. Flustered, he stammers that she looks different. She proudly tells him she wore the outfit, which took her 2 hours to prepare. Distracted by each other, they remembered nothing of the movie they saw afterwards. Daiki reflects that since their movie date, Wakaba has been the same as ever. As the doorbell rings repeatedly, Daiki's mother tells him he's going to be late. He thinks to himself that she is as crude, mischievous, and tomboyish as always. Wakaba sighs, asking if they have to run to school at full speed again. Wakaba impatiently tells him to get a move on. Struck by how cute she is, a flustered Daiki shuts the door while Wakaba bangs on it, telling him not to close it. Daiki recalls making an excuse, that he forgot something to get out of the awkward situation that morning. He remembers her warning that he might become conscious of her as a girl and worries he'll look like a fool if she finds out. He suddenly wonders if this was all a trap for her to laugh at his reactions. He remembers that he was the one who encouraged her to have confidence and try the new clothes. He reasons that if she wanted to tease him, she would have done so already. However, she didn't bring it up at all as they walked to school like usual. In class, he remains completely distracted by his thoughts. Sitting in class, Daiki speculates about what could have happened at her school. He imagines she might have been influenced by a fashion-loving friend who's good with makeup. Then a more troubling thought crosses his mind: what if the influence wasn't a friend but a boy? The idea that she changed for a boy angers him. He recalls her middle school self, who couldn't be bothered to wear anything but a jersey, and feels certain she wouldn't change her style for a guy. His thoughts are interrupted as a group of girls call out to Wakaba. Wakaba's friends invite her to sing karaoke, mentioning that Fujita-senpai and his crew will be there. She apologizes, saying she has important business, and suggests they go another time. Her disappointed friends wave goodbye. As she walks into the restroom, she thinks to herself about her real intentions. She decides it's pointless to keep her new look if it just scares Daiki off, given how strangely he acted that morning. For now, she decides to revert to her usual appearance. Satisfied with her return to her tomboyish style, she declares it perfect. She runs up and calls out to a startled Daiki. Daiki points out that she's late, but Wakaba playfully claims she was just giving him practice time, confident she'll win again. Annoyed, Daiki complains about having to treat her every day after their matches. Wakaba just grins and kicks a soccer ball at him without warning. While Daiki is snacking at home, his mother asks him to check the delivery box. She points out that he isn't doing anything important and urges him to go. Sighing about what a bother it is, he gets up from the couch. As he opens the door, someone calls out to him. He's surprised to see Wakaba, who explains she's going to the convenience store for fried chicken. Daiki notes how late it is, and Wakaba adds that her little sister also made a request. She cheerfully says goodbye and heads toward the elevator. As Daiki follows her, Wakaba turns and asks what he wants now. He explains that her talking about it has given him a craving for fried chicken too. Wakaba declares she is not treating him, which surprises Daiki since he always pays for her. She mockingly suggests that if he has a problem with it, he should try winning against her for a change. At the convenience store, the cashier announces the total. Wakaba quickly rejoins Daiki outside, who comments on how fast she was. However, Daiki then admits with an awkward smile that he forgot his wallet at home. Daiki reflects on how a lot has happened, and he's been feeling nervous talking with Wakaba. But for some reason, he feels like he can talk to her normally tonight. He wonders if it is because he cannot see her face, but she catches him staring and asks why he is acting so strange. He tries to ask for just one piece of chicken, but she firmly tells him no. Just as Wakaba says goodnight and turns to go, Daiki asks her to wait a bit. She stops confused, but tells him to just wait there. Daiki waits, puzzled by the sounds of her rushing around inside her apartment. She reappears, announcing she has something for the idiot who forgot his wallet. Wakaba, now in a cute floral romper, offers Daiki an ice cream bar as a reward for escorting her. As she wishes him good night, a stunned Daiki can only manage a weak reply. He closes his door behind him. He becomes completely flustered, his heart racing as he reels from her unexpectedly cute getup. His mother asks about the delivery, noticing his tardiness, but Daiki is too dazed to answer. In her room, Wakaba buries her face in her pillow, realizing with horror that she had forgotten to put on any makeup. Wakaba's childhood friend Daiki was always uncomfortable around other girls. Seeing this, a 5-year-old Wakaba decided to make herself more like a boy so they could hang out, inviting him to go bug catching. A classmate panicked after discovering a bug on her back. Wakaba, now 9 years old, calmly removed the bug for her. Despite her gratitude, the girl was still terrified of the insect. Wakaba complained to Daiki about the incident, and he remarked that girls probably just can't handle bugs. Daiki mused that Wakaba's boyish nature is precisely what makes her so easy for him to talk to. Wakaba seemed to contemplate Daiki's words with a quiet smile. At age 13, Wakaba playfully heckled a couple, and an embarrassed Daiki urged her to stop. She overheard the couple discussing plans to go to a cute cafe together. A look of longing crossed Wakaba's face. She quickly changed the subject, challenging Daiki to a game at the arcade, though he privately considered the idea of dates and cafes. Wakaba decided she was fine being seen as a boy by Daiki, so long as they could have fun. Now 15, she listens as Daiki complains about a friend who constantly brags about his new girlfriend. Exasperated, Daiki sighed that he also wanted a girlfriend. His statement left Wakaba utterly shocked. Wakaba pointed out his well-known difficulty with girls. Daiki explained that his friend's bragging was making him envious. Wakaba silently fumed, wishing he had expressed this desire much earlier. The night before their movie outing, Wakaba got ready, determined to make Daiki see her as a romantic interest. In his room, Daiki let out a sneeze. He looked up the movie she wanted to watch, Undead Shark. He grimaced, thinking that it looked like a terrible movie. Unaware of his thoughts, Wakaba happily prepared for their date. The story begins with Wakaba urging her childhood friend Daiki to hurry up. He apologetically calls out to her. He explains that he has something else he needs to do that day. Later, Wakaba and her friends are at a coffee shop, excitedly enjoying their fraps. However, just 10 minutes later, Ako's enthusiasm has vanished, complaining that she's now cold and sick of the slushy drink. Wakaba wonders where all her friends' energy went. Ako remarks that it's rare for Wakaba to join them, but Wakaba explains she was just busy earlier. She recalls how Daiki had told her he needed to take a retest, and that she should go on without him. Her friends tease that Momo gets grumpy when Wakaba isn't around. Ako then confesses that they suspected Wakaba had a boyfriend, which is why they followed her. Wakaba is stunned to learn she was followed. Ako intensely presses the issue, demanding to know if Wakaba got a boyfriend without telling them. She admits they were so sure Wakaba was on a date that they stalked her, though they gave up halfway and went home. Internally, Wakaba is relieved they didn't find out the truth. Wakaba quickly denies having a boyfriend, explaining she was just meeting her childhood friend. Her friends are immediately curious, asking if he's a guy. They press on, asking if he's attractive. Wakaba tries to dismiss their questions, insisting he's just a friend she's never seen in a romantic way, though she's clearly not being entirely truthful. Ako seems disappointed, assuming he must not be cool. Flustered, Wakaba insists she never said he wasn't cool. When her friends ask what he's like, she begins to explain. She starts talking non-stop, gushing about how he's nice, tall, takes good care of his sister, and looks good in his school uniform and glasses, prompting Akko to point out her sudden enthusiasm. The friends want more details, asking Wakaba to rank her childhood friend's hotness as if he went to their school. Embarrassed, Wakaba questions why she would rank him. She eventually suggests maybe 5th place, shocking her friends with the high ranking. While Akko laments about wanting a cool boyfriend, Wakaba tries to maintain that she was just being objective, though it's clear her perspective is biased. As their hangout comes to an end, Akko mentions wanting a dog, but her friend advises her to get a boyfriend instead. Wakaba says goodbye to one of her friends. Akko and Momo decide it's time to head home and catch the bus. Elsewhere, Daiki sighs with exhaustion after his retest. The following day, Akko and Momo spot a boy who fits the description Wakaba gave of her childhood friend and wonder if it could be him. Akko and Momo excitedly greet Wakaba, announcing they think they saw her childhood friend the day before. They explain they passed him by coincidence. They reveal they sneakily took a picture of a tall, glasses-wearing boy from Numa High, horrifying Wakaba. When they show Wakaba the picture, it's of a handsome but completely unfamiliar boy. Shocked, Wakaba realizes her friends have photographed a total stranger. In a classroom, Daiki and his friend greet their classmate Matsun, who is slumped over his desk letting out a huge sigh. Daiki asks what's wrong with the sigh, and his friend explains that Matsun has been despondent since he got to school. Matsun dramatically wails that the girlfriend he just got broke up with him. His friends react with amusement, with Daiki casually offering him a chip. They tease him about his bragging and the relationship's short length. Fed up, Matsun declares that their compassion is useless and demands they introduce him to some girls, believing a new pursuit is the best cure for a broken heart. His friend suggests a virtual idol, but Matsun insists he wants a real girl. Matsun presses Daiki for help, but his friend reminds him that nobody at their all-boys school can help. Daiki grows tense, recalling that he previously mentioned having a female childhood friend. He remembers dismissing her as just one of the guys, claiming he wasn't jealous and had no chance with her. Matsun eagerly asks Daiki to introduce him to this childhood friend. Daiki tries to dissuade him, describing her as a crazy tomboy, while their other friend jokes she'll eat him. Unfazed, Matsun insists he doesn't care what she's like and begs Daiki for an introduction, saying he's fine with just starting as friends. Later, Daiki sighs, feeling pressured by Matsun's request. He doubts his childhood friend, Wakaba, would have any interest, figuring she'd just treat Matsun like one of the guys. This thought leads him to consider that it might be fine for them to meet after all. He wonders what to do, only to be startled when Wakaba herself appears. She pokes him and asks what he's thinking about. Startled, Daiki recovers, as Wakaba explains she heard his door open and came to see what he was doing. He dismisses it as unimportant, remaining silent for a moment. Wakaba looks at him, intrigued. He hesitantly begins to explain that one of his friends wants him to do something. Daiki imagines Matsun and Wakaba hitting it off immediately, becoming fast friends. He pictures them bonding over shared interests like soccer. In his mind, he even sees them going to the movies together. Snapping out of his worried daydream, he finally asks Wakaba if he could set his friend up with one of her friends from school. Wakaba is surprised. He wants to set his friend up with one of her friends. Daiki explains that his friend was recently dumped and is adamant about just starting as friends. After a moment of thought, Wakaba smirks and asks if that means she is also fair game, leaving Daiki stunned. Wakaba playfully suggests that if it's just about making friends, there would be nothing wrong with setting her up with his friend. Flustered, Daiki stammers in response. He grabs her hand to stop her. He hastily declares that her after-school time is already booked because they have a pact to play soccer together. Wakaba is left speechless by his sudden and intense reaction. Daiki continues his rant, asking if she's really that eager to get beaten at soccer again, telling her to shut up while knowing she must have a smug grin on her face. Behind him, Wakaba can't help but let out a small, amused laugh at his over-the-top jealousy. Changing the subject, Daiki again asks if she has any friends who would hang out with Matsun. Wakaba considers her options, recalling her friend's general lack of interest in boys. However, she remembers one friend who recently mentioned a trend of gals being nice to otakus for fun. When Daiki asks if it matters what happens after the meeting, Wakaba decides it's fine. Daiki thanks her, relieved, and Wakaba tells him she'll ask her friend before wishing him good night. A few days later at school, Daiki arrives in the morning. He approaches Matsun's desk and asks how his outing with his childhood friend's friend went the day before. Without a word, Matsun takes both of Daiki's hands. The gesture confuses Daiki and their friend. With a serene look on his face, Matsun declares he no longer needs a girlfriend, having realized that friendship is all he truly needs. The morning begins with a TV horoscope predicting good fortune for Leos and a warning for Cancers about trouble from the opposite sex. Yawning, a young man gets ready for the day. He realizes it's already 7:25. Remembering they have gym first period, he wonders why Wakaba hasn't contacted him, guessing she might have overslept. He picks up his phone to call her. Daiki learns over the phone that Wakaba has a cold and is staying home. After school, he finds it hard to believe that someone as energetic as her could get sick. He decides to stop by a convenience store to buy her something to help her feel better. Inside the store, Daiki considers what to get Wakaba. He remembers something she's always liked. He is pleased to find it on the shelf. He has found the peach jelly. After purchasing it, he leaves the store. Daiki plans to drop the jelly off at Wakaba's apartment before going home. He figures he can just leave it in her fridge if she's asleep. Arriving at her building, he catches the elevator just as the doors open. He politely announces that he's getting on. In the elevator, Daiki finds himself with a girl he doesn't recognize. He feels an awkward tension. He realizes the button for his floor is already pressed and wonders if they are getting off at the same stop. He wonders if she also lives on his floor, though he can't recall seeing her before. The elevator arrives at the 7th floor. The girl gets off and Daiki decides to stay inside, thinking it would be suspicious to get off at the same time. He plans to wait until she enters her room before he goes to Wakaba's. In the hallway, the girl Momo tries to remember Wakaba's apartment number. She regrets not paying attention when Wakaba called her earlier. As she considers calling again, she turns around. She is startled to see Daiki standing there. Momo stares at Daiki with wide, suspicious eyes. Annoyed with himself for the misunderstanding, he tries to think of what to do. He quickly tries to explain that he wasn't following her and only stayed on the elevator to avoid seeming weird. She bluntly asks what he wants. A sick Wakaba wonders why her friend Momo is taking so long to arrive, thinking she might have forgotten the room number. She considers waiting in the hall for her. Just then, she hears people talking outside her door. Daiki frantically tries to explain that he lives on this floor and was just on an errand. When Wakaba opens the door, she is shocked to see Daiki and Momo together. Seeing that they clearly don't know each other, she tries to process the situation. Wakaba panics, trying to decide which of her personas to use in this unexpected situation. Momo greets Wakaba. Daiki realizes the girl is one of her friends. Momo gives Wakaba a test printout and comments on her rough voice. Wakaba uses fake coughs to disguise her speech as she thanks her friend, then asks Daiki why he's there. This leaves Momo confused about their connection. Daiki tells Wakaba she sounds awful and should get some rest. Momo apologizes to Daiki for the misunderstanding, and he says it's fine. He then walks to his own apartment door nearby. He unlocks his door and adjusts his glasses. Daiki reflects on how intense it is to be treated like a creep, remembering the morning's horoscope that named Cancer as the unluckiest sign. Meanwhile, Wakaba is delighted that Daiki brought her favorite peach jelly, touched that he remembered. She happily enjoys the treat, feeling her luck as a Leo has come through. Wakaba teases Daiki about an embarrassing childhood memory, much to his chagrin. Daiki thinks about how Wakaba was never one to stay inside just because of rain. He reflects that while Wakaba has been changing lately, with new friends and different clothes, her adventurous spirit has remained the same. Wakaba excitedly points out some snails, but Daiki is suddenly struck speechless. He realizes that the rain has made her white school shirt see-through. Flustered, he internally debates whether he should say something or if it would be better to stay quiet. Daiki imagines Wakaba would probably just laugh it off and tease him for being flustered. But then he considers that she might have changed and would feel differently now. He decides to pretend he saw nothing and suggests they go straight home. However, his plan is upended when he notices two other guys staring at Wakaba from behind. Worried, Daiki calls out to Wakaba. He awkwardly tries to explain that her clothes are soaked through and offers her his jersey, saying he doesn't want her to catch a cold. Wakaba finally looks down and realizes she's drenched, admitting she hadn't noticed but assures him it's fine. Despite her initial dismissal, Wakaba eagerly accepts the jersey, confessing she had always wanted some of his clothes. As she puts it on, she playfully asks if it's sweaty, which Daiki quickly denies, and he feels relieved that she's still the same. Back in her room, Wakaba dries her hair and remembers she needs to wash Daiki's jersey. Her eyes fall on the jacket hanging up. She's overcome with the temptation to try it on. She marvels at how huge it is, and how it feels distinctly like a man's piece of clothing. Giggling to herself, Wakaba puts on the jersey. She takes a sniff, noting it doesn't have much of a scent. Embarrassed by her own actions, she questions what she's doing. She then playfully rolls around on her bed, happily enveloped in the oversized garment. The next day, Daiki looks exhausted at school, and Wakaba guesses he was up all night playing games. He admits to replaying the previous day's events in his mind. She returns his jersey. As he takes it, he's struck by an amazing scent. He realizes it smells like Wakaba and has a moment of panic, wondering if he's a pervert. As they leave for school, Wakaba greets her dad. Her father wishes Daiki a good morning, noting he looks tired. Daiki is shocked to recognize the scent from the jersey on her father and realizes with a blush that it was just their family's fabric softener. After school, Fujii's friends, Daiki and Matsukawa, invite him to get okonomiyaki. Fujii declines, explaining he wants to be there when his favorite virtual idol passes 800,000 subscribers. As he walks away, his friends ask if he's talking about the virtual idol Kraken, but he corrects them, specifying Riri-sama from Virtual Siren. He shouts that he can't waste money meant for Riri-sama, leaving his friends to poke at each other, calling him a terrible friend. Walking home alone, the thought of his friends eating okonomiyaki makes Fujii hungry. He briefly considers getting something from a convenience store. He quickly dismisses the idea, reminding himself that he cannot waste a single yen for Riri-sama's sake. His resolve is immediately tested when he spots a drink for only 50 yen. At a vending machine, Fujii sees a girl from Kusunoki High struggling with her purchase. He decides it's best not to get involved with a co-ed girl, feeling she's a world apart from his beloved Riri-sama. Just as he tries to walk past unnoticed, she calls out to him. The girl's cheerful greeting catches him completely by surprise. The girl desperately asks Fujii if he has 100 yen she can borrow, explaining she's short on cash. Fujii is stunned into silence by the sudden request. He panics internally, wondering why this stranger is talking to him. She continues to beg, promising to pay him back and claiming she'll die if she doesn't get a drink. Fujii initially refuses, declaring that his money is for Riri-sama and he will not waste a single cent on her. Despite his protests, he gives her the money. She thanks him and promises she's got him next time before waving goodbye. Fujii is left in disbelief, realizing he just got hustled by the kind of girl who makes fun of introverts. He's mortified at the thought of anyone finding out he was hustled by a gal. The next day, Fujii recounts the story, trying to justify his actions by saying the girl seemed desperate. His friends mercilessly tease him, calling him a traitor for turning down plans with them only to give money to a girl. Fujii insists he just wanted to cheer her up, but his friends continue their jabs. As they walk, they notice a crowd of boys clamoring at the school entrance. Fujii is shocked to see the girl from yesterday at his school. He starts to wonder if she was serious about returning the money, which he finds admirable. However, his anxiety rises when he notices she brought a whole group of friends with her. Daiki tells the girl not to come over, while Fujii thinks there is no way he can approach a group of girls like that. The girls gossip amongst themselves, calling him the 100 yen guy and commenting on his appearance. Fujii considers asking Matsukawa for help, hoping he can keep the other girls occupied. He tentatively calls out to Matsukawa for assistance. Matsukawa freezes, staring ahead with a look of shock. A flashback reveals that Matsukawa has been traumatized by one of the girls in the group, Ako. He suddenly claims to have forgotten something and makes a hasty retreat back to the classroom. Fujii is left wondering what just happened. It turns out Daiki has also been traumatized by another girl in the group, Momo, who asks him what he wants. Just like Matsukawa, Daiki makes a swift exit, claiming he's in a hurry and will use the back gate. Daiki walks away, apologizing in his head for lying about being hustled. Abandoned by his friends, Fujii desperately calls for them to come back. Suddenly, the girl from the vending machine spots him and calls out. She cheerfully pays him back the 100 yen and offers him some snacks as thanks, resulting in a happy reunion. Wakaba is troubled by an upcoming event, Daiki's birthday. She reflects on their history of birthday celebrations, recalling how their parents would throw them a single party as kids due to their shared July birthdays. By middle school, this had evolved into a more casual exchange of snacks when celebrating felt less important. This year, she's determined to give him a proper gift. She wants it to be something that truly exemplifies her girliness. However, her plan is complicated by a certain fact. Daiki, despite constantly complaining about wanting a girlfriend, is notoriously awkward when talking to girls. Wakaba worries that if she makes him too conscious of her too quickly, he might start acting strange around her. But if she never breaks out of the one of the bros role, their relationship will stagnate and he'll remain girlfriendless for years. The challenge of finding the perfect gift proves difficult. She considers homemade treats but doubts her cooking skills. First, she needs to figure out what to get him. She thinks about clothes but doesn't know his size. She regrets not checking his jersey when she had the chance. Frustrated, she wishes she could just ask him directly. A sudden idea strikes her, she'll just ask him. Later, she meets up with Daiki and excitedly announces they're going shopping on his birthday instead of their usual routine. Daiki is surprised, noting that it's unusual for them to skip playing soccer and assuming she must be hungry. Wakaba reminds him that it's his birthday and, as they've been friends for so long, she wants to buy him something nice. The news comes as a complete shock to Daiki, who had forgotten it was his own birthday. He explains that since no one at school had mentioned it, it slipped his mind. He feels bad that she's going to the trouble and tells her she doesn't have to. Dismissing his protests, Wakaba tells him they'll take a stroll through the mall and get food. They grab a meal together. Then they begin their shopping trip, browsing through various stores. After finding a gift, they head to the checkout. Wakaba presents the gift to a flustered Daiki. They part ways for the day, with Daiki thanking her once more as she waves goodbye. Wakaba smiles to herself, satisfied with how the day, July 23rd, turned out. Just as she's leaving, Wakaba cheekily tells Daiki to keep his wallet handy as they'll reconvene for birthday date part 2. A bit stunned, Daiki agrees before heading inside. He lets out a sigh once the door is closed. The word date hits Daiki with full force, leaving him completely flabbergasted. Meanwhile, Wakaba arrives home, where her sister notices her. Her sister teases her about being red as a tomato, and Wakaba, embarrassed, tells her to shut up. Wakaba scores the winning goal, ending the soccer match with a victory for her team. A teammate calls out that her nice shot won them the game. Her teammates rush to congratulate her on advancing. Nearby, another group of girls expresses relief at their own early elimination, admitting they aren't cut out for ball sports. With their game finished, one of the girls suggests they go watch the boys' basketball game. They arrive to find the gymnasium packed with cheering fans, most of whom are there for one player. On the court, the star player effortlessly sinks a basket. The star player, Sakuraba-kun, is amazing and thinks to himself that this might not be so bad. The girls swoon over him, with one even considering becoming a fan of the so-called Prince Sakuraba. The crowd cheers for their prince. Another friend remarks that it's much more enjoyable to cheer for handsome guys who are actually good and have a chance of winning. As her friends head off for food, Wakaba is stopped by someone calling her name. It's Tsushima-san, and he congratulates her and the girls' soccer team on their win. He adds that his own volleyball team lost. He mentions hearing that her goal clinched the victory and expresses his regret at not being able to see it. Tsushima notes that the boys' basketball and girls' soccer teams are the only ones advancing, and they agree to do their best in the afternoon matches. He waves goodbye as he leaves. The moment he leaves, Wakaba's friends pounce, excitedly claiming the interaction triggered a huge romantic flag. Wakaba, flustered, insists he was merely being polite. Her friend continues to tease her, asking if she would go out with Tsushima, but Wakaba denies it. In fact, she declares she'd rather date someone unathletic than a sports prodigy. As they talk, a boys' dodgeball match rages on nearby, where a player named Matsukawa prepares to catch a throw. Matsukawa yells for his teammate Daiki to get the ball. Daiki's attempt at a catch is a complete failure as the ball bounces off his hands. The ball smacks him squarely in the face, sending his glasses flying. After the game, Wakaba catches up with Daiki and immediately starts teasing him about the nice dead center skid mark the ball left on his face. She continues, laughing that unathletic guys don't get girls, which annoys him. Wakaba playfully continues, suggesting that if he searched the whole world over, he might find just one person who would be okay with him. Daiki snaps back that she's only talking so big because she's athletic, sarcastically wishing Mr. Unathletic Four Eyes good luck in his search. As summer vacation approaches, one of Daki's friends despairs over his single status while his friends look on, confused. He passionately declares that he doesn't want to start the vacation without a girlfriend. He rejects the idea of a boys-only trip, calling it a total sausage fest. While his friends suggest camping or staying indoors, the boy insists that their suggestions are fine, but he has other priorities. He fantasizes about having a girlfriend for the summer to improve his track record. He curses at his friends for their indifference, telling them to go die in a fire. The mention of the mountains or the beach makes Daki wonder if his family will have their annual trip with Wakaba's family this year. Wakaba's friend Mocha excitedly suggests they all go buy new swimsuits for the upcoming summer vacation. She declares her intention to get a very sexy one, though her friends remind her they need to decide on a destination first. The girls eagerly discuss potential destinations like the beach or the pool, mentioning water slides and night pools. The talk of swimsuits makes Wakaba thoughtful, and she wonders if she could find an excuse to show one to Daki if she bought it. Having avoided particularly girly things in middle school, she decides she might finally buy one. She smiles to herself, musing on how he might react. Her thoughts then drift to whether their families will have their usual trip this year. After school, Wakaba cheerfully greets Daki, who points out that she's late. Complaining about the heat, she apologizes for her tardiness. To make up for it, she offers to treat him to a shareable ice cream. As they walk and enjoy their drinks, Wakaba feels refreshed. Daki brings up their family's annual combined day trip, asking if they're doing it this year, and Wakaba confirms she was thinking about it too. The trip is an annual event for the Sejima and Sasahara families, with the destination, beach or mountains, decided by the children's vote. Wakaba notes they had to skip it last year due to entrance exams but should be able to go this year. Daki eagerly asks if they can go to the mountains this year, reminding Wakaba how she, her sister, and his brother all ganged up to vote for the beach last time. He explains that since his brother is busy with work, they can go to the mountains if she votes with him. Wakaba looks at him suspiciously, wondering about his motives. He tries to persuade her by mentioning activities she enjoys, like barbecues, fishing, and catching bugs. Daki presses on, explaining that she's the only one he can count on to go bug catching with him. He pleads with her earnestly. Wakaba finally gives in, sighing that he wins. That evening, Wakaba washes her hair in the bath. Her mother relaxes nearby. Wakaba quietly contemplates their upcoming trip to the mountains. Her thoughts drift to Daki's childlike excitement for catching beetles. However, this is contrasted by the thrilling thought of Daki seeing her in a new swimsuit, an idea that makes her blush intensely. Daki is on the phone with his mother, confirming their plans for the day trip and excitedly telling her he wants to go to the mountains. However, his mother delivers the shocking news that the Sejima kids have already decided on the beach, leaving Daki stunned. Daki apologizes as Wakaba stares him down, calling him a traitor. He explains that he already promised his friends he would go to the pool with them, and they are all buying new swimsuits. Wakaba laments the missed opportunities for bug catching, river fishing, and a barbecue, thinking Daki is too obsessed with bugs. Wakaba suggests an insect museum as a compromise, but Daki dismisses the idea. She decides to grant him a special privilege to make up for it. Wakaba brightly announces that he can be the one to choose her new swimsuit. Daki questions her plan, but Wakaba insists she wants him to choose something he'd like, since her friends have different tastes. She teasingly asks what kind of swimsuit he finds appealing. Daki panics, thinking it's a trap designed to make him look like a pervert, just like in grade school. Daki tries to think of a safe option, like her old middle school swimsuit. Wakaba finds that suggestion terribly boring and problematic. She smirks, reveling in his internal struggle to find an acceptable answer. He becomes flustered, realizing he knows nothing about girls' swimsuits beyond the basics. He recalls a less-than-helpful conversation he had with his friends Fuji and Matsun at school. Overwhelmed by the pressure, Daki struggles to think of something to say. His mind defaults to his favorite subject, and he nervously suggests a bug print. Wakaba sighs and admits his request is quite weird. Daki immediately regrets his choice, collapsing onto his bed in despair over the missed opportunity. He weakly tries to explain that he did not mean anything weird by it. The scene shifts to a busy shopping area where Wakaba is meeting her friends. A variety of trendy and alluring swimsuits are on display. Wakaba, however, seems lost in thought and uninterested in the selection. Wakaba remains puzzled by what Daki could have possibly meant by bug print. One of her friends calls out, asking if she has made a decision yet. Another friend asks if she is looking for something specific, like a tankini. Wakaba explains her unusual goal, to find a swimsuit with an insect pattern. A friend playfully suggests a praying mantis design, but Wakaba knows such a thing doesn't exist. Encouraged by her friends, Wakaba begins her search for an eye-catching design. She becomes frustrated, realizing that the only bug-print swimsuits she can find are for young boys. Her search for any kind of insect pattern comes up completely empty. In a flashback, Wakaba had enthusiastically accepted his offer to choose her swimsuit. The memory of him suggesting a bug print comes to mind. Back in the present, both of them are filled with regret over the awkward exchange, with Daiki wondering why he ever said that. Daiki is deeply concerned because Wakaba's birthday is just around the corner. He's panicking because she called it a birthday date. And to his surprise, she left all the planning entirely up to him. Daiki suspects Wakaba is enjoying his panic, as she's been teasing him a lot lately. Determined not to give her the satisfaction, he resolves to give her the surprise of a lifetime. However, he's at a loss for how to do it. He knows she likes soccer but feels that's too predictable. Looking around for help, he quickly dismisses his friends Fuji and Matsun as useless. Feeling he has no other choice, he decides to seek help. He spots Wakaba's little sister Mocha. He's known her his whole life, but there's a certain tension there. Steeling himself, he calls out to her as she's heading home. Mocha turns around and greets Daiki with a teasing smile, accusing him of being a creep trying to ambush her. Daiki internally groans. Unlike her tomboy sister, he finds Mocha difficult to deal with, but she's the only one he can ask about Wakaba. He tries to explain that their meeting is a coincidence, but she just calls him dishonest. He quickly changes the subject, awkwardly bringing up Wakaba's upcoming birthday. Mocha immediately sees through him, correctly guessing he needs help choosing a gift and finding his pathetic state adorable. After a moment of thought, she agrees to tell him what her sister wants and even promises to keep it a secret. Daiki is relieved by her amicable response, but his hope is short-lived. Mocha makes it clear that this information will come at a price. Mocha reveals her fee. He has to buy her something too. With that, she leads him into a supermarket, straight to the snack aisle. As she picks out a treat, Daiki questions why they're there when they're supposed to be shopping for Wakaba. Mocha claims that all girls love sparkling jewelry, and the snack she wants comes with a toy. Daiki is highly skeptical, finding it hard to imagine Wakaba wearing jewelry. He realizes the whole thing was a pointless exercise just so Mocha could get a cheap toy. With no other ideas, he decides to go with the safe bet, soccer equipment. On the day of the date, he puts his plan into action. At the premium outlet, Daiki waits for Wakaba, complaining about the heat. He wonders where she is, as they had agreed to meet there. Just then, Wakaba calls out to him, apologizing for being late. Daiki turns and is left completely speechless by her appearance. Daiki is stunned, thinking she looks unusually cute. He had thought she was just messing with him when she called it a date, but seeing her dressed up, he's no longer so sure. As the area gets crowded with the lunch rush, Wakaba asks where he's taking her, snapping him out of his daze. Now seeing how much effort Wakaba put into her appearance, Daiki begins to doubt if a sports shop is the right choice. Mocha's words about girls loving sparkling jewelry echo in his mind, a thought he never would have considered for Wakaba. In his flustered state, he accidentally blurts out the idea of a jewelry shop. Daiki recalls his flustered suggestion to buy jewelry. Wakaba is in awe inside the fancy jewelry store. She admits she was sure he would get her something soccer-related again this year and hadn't expected him to go so far off the beaten path. Wakaba wonders if her attempts to entice him are finally working. She teases him, asking what he's going to get her, adding that since no one has ever given her jewelry before, she'd be happy with anything. Internally, Daiki panics, realizing this was not part of his plan at all. Having mentioned jewelry in the heat of the moment, Daiki is completely lost, as he's never been in a store like this. He considers letting Wakaba pick something herself. But then he sees her expectant expression. He recognizes that look. It's the same one she gets when she's stuck in a game, meaning she won't be giving him any hints. Daiki recalls Mocha's advice that girls love sparkly jewelry. He struggles to imagine Wakaba, who he thought was only interested in soccer, liking girly things. He considers typical items like pink hearts. Just as he thinks he's found something that might work, Wakaba surprises him from behind. Daiki nervously presents his choice, a pink, heart-shaped necklace with wings, much to Wakaba's shock. She playfully teases him, saying she never would have thought a pink heart suited her, and that he must consider her an angel. Flustered, Daiki quickly backpedals, claiming it was just the first thing he picked up. However, Wakaba's smug expression tells him she knows he had to put some thought into it. He suddenly realizes that whatever he picks will say something about how he sees her. This sends him into another frantic search for the perfect gift. He spots a simple silver necklace with a leaf design, but dismisses it as being too obvious and a bit boring. Wakaba sees it and comments that he was thinking of her name. She immediately says she likes it, adding that it also goes well with his request. Wakaba clarifies she was referring to his strange answer about liking bug print swimsuits. Daiki remembers his panicked, weird answer to her question. He agrees to buy the leaf necklace. At the counter, he awkwardly explains to the clerk that it's a birthday gift for his childhood friend. Despite the detour, Wakaba notes how they still ended up at a sports store, where she happily got some new shoes. As she heads home, she announces their next stop is the beach. Later, alone in her room, she fondly holds the gift bag from Daiki. Wakaba blushes as she holds the gift, marveling at the novelty of the experience. Just then, her sister Mocha arrives home. Mocha immediately starts teasing her, asking what kind of lame present Daiki got for her birthday. Mocha reveals that she was the one who gave Daiki advice on what to buy. Wakaba is surprised as she hadn't heard about this. Mocha proudly explains that she made Daiki get her a gift in exchange for the information, showing off a small box that she says contains jewelry. She begins to open her present. Wakaba sees it's just a cheap toy from a snack box and offers to buy it from Mocha for 500 yen. Mocha questions why, insisting the toy is hers. Wakaba tempts her with the idea of being able to buy 3 more. The trade is made, and with the silly toy out of sight, Wakaba's good mood is fully restored. The day of the Sejima and Shinohara joint family day trip has finally arrived. Wakaba excitedly exclaims about being at the beach, with Mocha and Daiki sharing in the excitement. Their mothers instruct them to go get changed while they find a good spot, with Wakaba's mom reminding Mocha to stay with her sister. Wakaba tells Daiki they'll meet him back here after they've changed. Mocha playfully warns Daiki not to peek, calling him a criminal, which he quickly denies. 15 minutes later, Daiki waits alone, wondering if they're still changing. He grows increasingly flustered thinking about them changing into their swimsuits, lamenting his stupid request, and calling it a wasted opportunity. Lost in his thoughts about the wasted opportunity, Daiki is startled when Wakaba calls his name. He turns to see her and Mocha, who tease him for changing so quickly. Daiki is shocked to see that Wakaba is wearing shorts and a hoodie, not the swimsuit he was anticipating. He remembers her mentioning that the necklace he bought her would go well with the requested swimsuit, making him wonder if she couldn't find one. Daiki feels a pang of disappointment, thinking that Wakaba is dressed the same as always. Mocha snaps him out of his thoughts, urging him to come join them. The group settles down under their beach umbrella. Wakaba realizes she can't find the cord for her charger, speculating that she may have left it in the car's trunk. She decides to go look for it, asking her dad for the car keys. Daiki watches her leave with a worried expression, wondering if she'll be okay by herself, though her dad reassures him that the parking lot isn't far. Daiki's mom casually mentions that even this family-friendly beach has its share of pickup artists, advising Wakaba's mom to be careful. The mention of pickup artists immediately puts Daiki on high alert. He glances in the direction Wakaba went, his concern growing. Suddenly, Daiki stands up, claiming he also forgot something in the car and will be right back. His mom watches him go, thinking how obvious her son is, while Mocha asks to come along. Daiki rushes through the parking lot, trying to remember where they parked. He finally spots Wakaba standing by their car. However, he sees she's being approached by 2 men. Seeing their intimidating appearance, Daiki immediately panics, assuming the worst. She's being hit on. Daiki finds the 2 men incredibly scary. Mustering his courage, he runs over and places himself protectively in front of Wakaba, telling the men to direct any questions to him. Wakaba is surprised by his sudden appearance. The men, surprised by his outburst, clarify that they are event coordinators for a concert that night and hand him a flyer, inviting them to come. As they walk back, Wakaba asks if he also forgot something, and Daiki awkwardly claims he thought he maybe left it in the car, but it was with their other things. Wakaba suggests they head back and go for a swim. Daiki, looking completely drained from the ordeal, agrees. Wakaba then stops him, and with a grin, reveals the bug print bikini she's wearing underneath her hoodie. She explains that it was hard to find and proudly asks for his opinion, as she wanted him to be the first one to see it, leaving Daiki completely speechless. Completely flustered, Daiki's teeth chatter as he starts spewing facts about the tree nymph butterfly printed on her swimsuit, noting it's the official butterfly of Okinawa and considered a good omen. Amused by his reaction, Wakaba pulls him into a hug from behind, teasingly asking if bug facts are his only comment. Finally collecting himself, Daiki compliments her, saying the swimsuit looks good on her. Later, the two are in the ocean, where Wakaba energetically urges Daiki to pick up the pace and swim with more fighting spirit. A new Lily-sama figurine has been released as a crane game prize, and a young man named Fuji is determined to win it. He heads to a specific arcade he knows is on its last legs, finding the establishment completely empty. He considers it the perfect spot for his mission. Fuji reflects that trying to win a Bishoujo figure at a busy arcade would get him labeled as a gross otaku. Here, however, the only other patrons are old men, other otaku, and middle-aged guys playing children's games. Confident that none of them will bother him, he prepares to claim his prize. He puts in his coin and the game begins. Despite pouring thousands of yen into the machine, Fuji fails repeatedly. He knows the claw is programmed to be weak until enough money is spent. He remains optimistic, believing that even after 50 failed attempts, the next one could be the winner. He heads off to get more coins, confident no one will take over the machine in the deserted arcade. Fuji returns with more coins, ready for round 2. To his dismay, a girl is now standing right in front of the crane game he was playing. Fuji is stunned by her sudden appearance. The girl recognizes him, cheerfully greeting him as 100 yen. She asks what he's doing at a dead arcade so far from the city, while he wonders the same thing about her. The girl realizes she doesn't know his name, and he reluctantly introduces himself as Fuji. She suggests he call her Ako, but Fuji is flustered by the familiarity. When she asks what he's trying to get, he panics. He is worried she will judge him for wanting a Bishoujo figure. He steels himself, determined to protect Lily-sama's honor regardless of what she thinks. To hide his goal, Fuji claims he was just passing by. Ako says she was also just looking for something fun and happened to find the arcade. Seeing that she has no intention of leaving him alone, Fuji feels a twinge of frustration. He decides to feign disinterest, browse for a bit, and then come back another time. Ako browses the arcade, pointing out various prizes while Fuji looks for an opportunity to escape. Just as he's about to make an excuse to leave, he is stopped. Ako spots the Lily-sama figure balanced perfectly on the edge and declares she's going to get it. Fuji is horrified. He's the one who spent 50 tries getting the prize into that position. He desperately thinks there's no way an amateur could win it. But to his shock, Ako wins the figure in a single try. She celebrates her amazing luck, completely unaware of Fuji's devastation. Fuji is completely crushed. Ako, assuming he's an otaku, offers him the prize. To save face, he pretends not to know the character. Hearing this, Ako decides she'll give it to her otaku brother instead and cheerfully leaves. A few days later, Fuji lies in bed, still devastated over losing both 5,000 yen and the Lily-sama figure. His misery is interrupted by a call from his friend Daiki, which he answers reluctantly. Daiki surprises Fuji with the very Lily-sama figure he lost. Overjoyed, Fuji asks how he got it, and Daiki explains that his childhood friend Wakaba received it from her friend. A flashback shows Wakaba planning to give the prize to her brother but reconsidering because the box was damaged. In the flashback, Wakaba's friends note that collectors are fussy about box condition. She then asks if anyone knows someone who might want it, and Daiki immediately thinks of Fuji. Back in the present, Fuji is moved to tears, thanking his friend and the mysterious chain of acquaintances that brought his beloved Lily-sama to him. Wakaba excitedly presents Daiki with a flyer for the summer festival fireworks show. As she hopes for good weather, Daiki seems less than enthusiastic. Daiki recalls past events with a knowing smirk, aware of Wakaba's tendencies. Unfazed, Wakaba declares that this year will be different from the last. Remembering how Wakaba tried to mess with him before, Daiki believes he needs to be mentally prepared to thwart her plans. To get ahead of her, he pointedly asks if she intends to wear a yukata this year. Wakaba gives him a vague, non-committal response, leaving him guessing. Wakaba's casual demeanor makes Daiki suspicious as he recalls a previous incident at the beach. He's convinced she's hiding something. Later, the scene shifts to the bustling summer festival, alive with crowds and bright lights. At the festival, Daiki is taken aback to see Wakaba in regular clothes. He wonders if this is another trick or if she genuinely didn't want to wear a yukata. A bit flustered, he asks where they should go. Mocha announces she wants shaved ice, so Wakaba decides they'll wander around until they find a food stall. After Mocha is denied a goldfish, the group continues on. Daiki glances over at Wakaba as they walk through the festival. He hands Mocha her shaved ice, cautioning her not to spill it on her yukata. After they finish their food, Wakaba looks for a trash bin. She suddenly stumbles on a discarded can, nearly falling into Daiki. He asks if she's all right as she angrily complains about the litterer. As she picks up the can to throw it away, it seems to jog a memory. The incident reminds Daiki of a time when Wakaba wore a girly yukata. He recalls that she had tripped while wearing getar. He asks her if she remembers that day. He clarifies that he's talking about the time her getar strap broke. Wakaba explains that because of the broken getar, they missed all the fun stalls and had to go home before the fireworks, which is why she swore off wearing yukatas. Daiki recalls carrying her home. Wakaba quickly corrects him, reminding him that she ended up having to carry him home barefoot. The memory makes Daiki grimace. Amid their bickering, they suddenly realize Mocha is gone. Wakaba frantically calls out for Mocha, realizing with dread that Mocha doesn't have her phone. Soon after, a lost child announcement is made for a girl in a red yukata named Mocha-chan. Hearing this, Wakaba realizes Daiki couldn't find her either and searches through the dense crowd. She begins to panic, worrying that Mocha might have gone off with a stranger. Wakaba runs through the crowd shouting Mocha's name. Suddenly, her phone rings. It's Daiki on the line, telling her that someone found Mocha and brought her in as a lost child. Overwhelmed with relief, Wakaba collapses to the ground. Wakaba finds a crying Mocha. She scolds her for wandering off without telling anyone. Daiki explains that Mocha bumped into someone and spilled her shaved ice all over herself. With the fireworks about to start, Mocha complains that her feet hurt and demands a piggyback ride. Wakaba reluctantly agrees, despite Mocha's teasing about how she smells of sweat. As they walk home, Daiki offers Wakaba support while she carries Mocha. Fireworks light up the sky in the distance. He apologizes that they didn't get to see the fireworks up close. Wakaba shrugs it off, saying there's always next year. Daiki then quietly suggests that perhaps she could wear a yukata next year. He nervously promises that if her getar strap breaks again, he'll be strong enough to carry her home this time. Wakaba mutters that they're a pain to wear and walk in. Despite her words, a faint smirk appears on her face. Wakaba playfully agrees, telling Daiki that if he puts in a request next year, she'll wear one for him. Unseen by them, a young man watches their interaction from a distance, recognizing Wakaba as